Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Thinking Out Loud with me, Shawn Armstrong, broadcasting from my secret hideout in beautiful Brazil. Today, we're diving headfirst into the political storm brewing in Texas. Grab your coffee, settle in, and let's get to the heart of the matter. Donald Trump and Governor Greg Abbott's new redistricting proposal that could reshape the future of American politics. So, what's the big deal? President Donald Trump is teaming up with Texas Governor Greg Abbott to redraw the congressional map in Texas. Their new proposal could create up to 5 additional Republican-leaning districts. Imagine that, the Lone Star State becoming an even more pivotal battleground for redistricting ahead of upcoming elections. The core of their strategy, a belief that Hispanic voters will continue to back Republican candidates. A gamble that could redefine political power for generations. Let's break this down. Currently, Texas law requires a 2/3 quorum to conduct House business, meaning at least 100 out of 150 members must be present. So it's no surprise that the Democrats have been making quite the dramatic exit from Texas. Over 50 have fled to places like Illinois, New York, and Boston. Why? To make the quorum impossible and stall the vote. But is this retreat strategic or just plain desperate? Let's unpack this. To evade the Texas legislative session, many Democrats have fled to the state, knowing law enforcement can't pursue them across state lines. And, in a twist of irony, they have taken refuge in Illinois, a state with its own notorious history of gerrymandering. Now, let's talk about those coalition districts, a term that's become synonymous with political maneuvering. In essence, Democrats aim to combine minority groups to dilute Republican strength. In fact, recent warnings from the Department of Justice flagged several of Texas's congressional districts as unconstitutional. Did you know that 5 years ago, Democrats would have cheered for these proposed maps? They were designed to expand representation, but then Trump shifted the Hispanic vote about 10 to 15 points towards Republicans, transforming a good map into a strategic risk. The real question is, will the gamble pay off for the Texas GOP? If Texas Republicans can hold on to Hispanic voters, they potentially reshape the political landscape for years. It's a huge bet. Win, and they could crush the Democrats in Texas. Lose, and they can cede power back to the opposition. Let me give you a quick fun fact. According to the latest data, Texas has one of the fastest growing Hispanic populations in the country, spanning diverse backgrounds and political beliefs. That dynamic is crucial for understanding what these new maps could represent. And speaking of representation, magic happens when voters mobilize. As the mantra goes, it's not just about creating districts, it's about creating communities of support. As many of you may know, redistricting is the process of drawing electoral district boundaries. In Texas, this has become a hot-button issue, especially among those on the left who are vocal about perceived injustices in how districts are drawn. But today, I want to shift our focus slightly. What if we introduce a new census that excludes illegal aliens from being counted for congressional seats in the Electoral College? Yes, you heard that right. The impact would be significant, specifically for states like California, which could potentially lose 3 congressional seats and 2 electoral votes. This leads us to a fascinating question. How would such a change influence the political landscape and the compassion often shown towards undocumented immigrants, illegal aliens? First, let's break down the implications of not counting illegal aliens in the census. Excluding illegal aliens from the count would mean that states with higher populations of such individuals would lose representation in Congress. For instance, California, which has a large illegal alien population, could find itself losing significant political power. This is crucial because representation is directly tied to influence over federal funding and policy making. With fewer representatives, states like California may receive less federal aid, affecting everything from education to health care. The ripple effects could be profound for citizens who rely on these services. And here's where it gets interesting. How might the left's compassion for illegal aliens shift if they perceive that their political power is at stake? Would political interests outweigh humanitarian concerns? It raises an ethical dilemma that deserves serious contemplation. Let's consider a quote from Thomas Jefferson: "The government closest to the people serves the people best." If we redefine who the people are based on our counting methods, we have to ask, are we truly serving everyone? Fun fact, according to the Pew Research Center, approximately 11 million illegal aliens reside in the United States. That's a substantial number, impacting representation and resources. If we start excluding them from the census, how do we address their needs? They can get some peanuts on the flight home. Illegal immigration has emerged as a pivotal concern within contemporary American politics. Recent estimates show that approximately 12.8 million illegal aliens reside in the U.S. today, up from 10.2 million in January of 2021. This surge represents significant implications for taxpayers, and it's not just about numbers. It encompasses resource allocation, community stability, and the many facets of our economic landscape. To help us navigate this landscape, I'll be referencing insights from Stephen A. Camarota, Director of Research at the Center of Immigration Studies, whose work underlines the nuanced fiscal impacts of illegal immigration. Camarota brings to our attention a critical point. Illegal aliens typically receive more in government services than they contribute in taxes. Now, let's break down why this happens. First, many illegal aliens are employed and contribute to taxes. These include income and payroll taxes. However, their low average educational levels often results in lower earnings and consequently modest tax contributions. This puts them in a position where they often qualify for welfare programs, particularly benefiting their U.S.-born children. The disparity in educational attainment, where about 69% of adult illegal aliens have not completed high school, makes it challenging for this demographic to achieve the economic mobility. Let's consider the fiscal setbacks. According to Camarota's findings, each illegal alien represents a lifetime fiscal drain averaging around $68,000. Multiply that by 11 million, figured out. This underlines a systemic issue that goes beyond the immigrant's personal efforts. It's about education and long-term integration strategies that can enhance workforce productivity. Data also reveals that 59% of households led by illegal aliens utilize at least one major welfare program. Compare this to just 39% among U.S.-born households, and you begin to see the strain on public finances. This equates to approximately $42 billion annually in welfare benefits alone, which is a heavy load on taxpayer-funded services. Education costs are particularly staggering, with 4 million children of illegal aliens enrolled in public schools, costing taxpayers around $68 billion each year. A situation exacerbated by recent surges in enrollment. As schools struggle to accommodate larger classes with diverse needs, existing resources are being stretched thinner than ever before. Fun fact, did you know that the emergency medical services are also feeling the pinch? Approximately 5.8 million uninsured illegal aliens depend on these services, leading to an estimated annual cost exceeding $7 billion for taxpayers. Now, here's a thought-provoking quote from economist Milton Friedman. You cannot simultaneously have open borders and a welfare state. This encapsulates the dilemma we're facing beautifully. The question we must ask ourselves is, how do we balance compassion with fiscal responsibility? Additionally, while it's clear that illegal aliens add to the economy, contributing about $321 billion to the GDP annually, the question remains, at what cost, and is this growth sustainable? First, let's clarify what we mean when we say immigrant and illegal alien. These terms are often used interchangeably in popular discourse, but they carry different implications and meanings in the legal and social contexts. An immigrant is generally defined as a person who comes to live permanently in a foreign country. They may arrive through various legal channels such as work visas, family reunification, or refugee status. Essentially, they are navigating the system the way it is intended. On the other hand, the term illegal alien refers to someone who enters or resides in a country without legal authorization. This could mean they cross the borders without consent, overstayed a visa, or otherwise don't have the legal paperwork to remain in that country, and should be deported. They can be given a chance to become legal later after they're outside the country and do it the right way. In Brazil, for every year you stay illegally, you have to wait a year to return legally. Also, they fine you 100 reals a day, up to 10,000 reals for every day you're here illegally. Imagine that. Actual immigration laws. Let's dig a little deeper into these definitions. First off, the legal processes surrounding immigration can be incredibly complex. Not an excuse to break the law. There are pathways to allow immigrants to assimilate into society, contribute economically, and apply for citizenship. There's an entire legal framework in place to help manage immigration, all essential to the functioning of nations. It should be noted, poverty is not grounds for asylum, or as the richest country in the world, the United States would have to take in the entire planet. If you come to someone else's country illegally, you're a criminal and should be treated accordingly. I think a plane ticket back home is pretty compassionate. In places like North Korea, if you cross the border illegally, they shoot you. As a legal immigrant to a country that actually has immigration laws, you can stop trying to lecture me on immigration. You simply come across sounding dumb, especially to you fools using the Native Americans as some kind of example. First of all, your stolen land claim. We're all on stolen land. So, your brilliant idea is to invite more people to live on stolen land? Second, it's not the best example to use. If they had, and enforced immigration laws, they might still own Manhattan. So you can stop lecturing people. You're idiots. You're the same morons that were protesting outside a California marijuana farm where 10 trafficked children were being forced to do slave labor. Of course, this is not the first time Democrats have tried to defend slavery. Keep in mind, though, the last time you tried, we shot you. Moreover, there's a significant discrepancy in how these terms are utilized in political discourse. Democrats want them here and want you to pay for them so they can keep seats in Congress and in the Electoral College. Hence, you will never hear the word illegal alien come out of a Democrat's mouth. However, that is the legal term for someone who enters the country illegally. If you apply for asylum at a port of entry, that's your due process. To begin a process to be judged on whether you genuinely require asylum. For example, I went through due process to get my permanent residency in Brazil. I applied. After I married my beautiful wife, they put me through a process, background check, fingerprinting, and then decided I could stay. That's your due process. If you sneak across the border, your due process is a deportation court where they should put you on a plane and send you home. As I said earlier, if we did away with counting illegals in the census for congressional seats and electorates, you would see the compassion for these illegals dry up from Democrat politicians. This is also why they want to make it illegal to ask for someone's papers, although that's been the law at state level for hundreds of years. Every state, with few exceptions, has had vagrancy laws and requirements to identify yourself to law enforcement. Fun fact, the United Nations recognizes 17 Sustainable Development Goals, many of which emphasize inclusivity, encouraging member states to uphold the rights of their citizens regardless of their immigration status. I actually don't care what the United Nations thinks. They're not Americans. We have sovereignty. That's what a border provides. It keeps American culture from influencing other cultures and vice versa, because we have borders. When you enter someone else's country, you have to try to integrate. For example, I moved to Brazil. Now I'm trying to learn Portuguese. When you move to the United States, legally, you need to learn English. I'm not saying you can't teach other people things like Spanish. That's good to know, in case people want to travel. However, you need to integrate. I don't care what the United Nations says about American sovereignty. Politics is often more about the players than the policies. In the arena of presidential conduct, we often see a stark contrast between styles, personas, and more importantly, legacies. In this segment, we'll explore how Barack Obama and Donald Trump's approaches have differed, especially in light of tensions surrounding the 2016 election and the subsequent accusations of collusion and misconduct. Did Obama use his presidency's authority to undermine his successor? And how have events unfolded since Donald Trump's surprise victory, events that continue to shape our political landscape today? Many political analysts argue that Barack Obama's presidency was a turning point for government integrity. If you've read my book, Messiah, you'll realize it was for the worst. Yet, beneath the polished exterior lies a narrative that suggests a more insidious tactic at play. Many claim that Obama's team engaged in a calculated effort to delegitimize Donald Trump's ascent to power. Allegations have surfaced that intelligence leaders were instructed to pursue narratives devoid of evidence, as seen in the infamous Russia investigation. And consider the figures involved: James Comey, John Brennan, and others with impressive titles who have been accused of manipulating information. Yet, somehow, the loony left believe Trump is on that magic list. They could have used that and it would have been more believable than Russia. Some may argue they are merely actors in a complex political theater, but one must wonder, do these titles and credentials negate accountability? I personally believe, having been in the military, they require more integrity and accountability. Interestingly, the exit of George W. Bush from the political stage offers a contrast. Bush, despite facing criticism and plummeting approval ratings, left office quietly, embodying a sense of decorum often attributed to traditional standards of presidential conduct. In stark contrast, Obama's post-presidency activities have raised eyebrows, particularly his criticism of Trump, suggesting a refusal to concede the spotlight. What does this say about their leadership styles? Bush, in his way, exemplified a gentleman's approach, even when faced with adversity, while Obama's post-presidency behavior exemplifies an aggressive defense of his legacy. Was it warranted, or does it reflect a deeper insecurity about his own administration's accomplishments? Here's a thought to ponder. Are we, as a society, becoming desensitized to the behaviors of our leaders? I hate that word, leaders. Representatives. For example, there's a famous quote from F. Scott Fitzgerald that states, "The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposed ideas in mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function." This duality seems now to echo in our assessment of political figures. Moreover, where does the media land in this conversation? The coverage discrepancies between past and current administrations prompt us to question the integrity of information sources. As observed, networks like CNN and MSNBC have lost some of their dominance. Are they now more vulnerable to whims of the internet age? It seems that truth is a malleable concept in the media sphere today. The last few years have been tumultuous for American politics. We've witnessed a dramatic shift in the Democratic Party's identity. Once home to pragmatists and hawks, it now seems to cater primarily to an extremist base demanding radical change. Victor Davis Hanson, one of my college professors, argues that the Democrats have lost their way. They're failing to resonate with general public while being consumed by issues that alienate everyone except the Twitter elite. Is there a charismatic figure on the horizon, someone who can unify and lead this fractured party? Spoiler alert, it doesn't seem likely. Instead, we have figures like Schumer, who appear to be yelling into a void, and Hakeem Jeffries wielding a metaphorical bat, demanding more extremism from a party that is losing touch with mainstream America. Let's break down some of these key points. The shift in Democratic ideology. The Democratic Party has shifted dramatically leftward. Signature issues like open borders and defunding the police have sparked outrage among voters who once supported them. With inflation skyrocketing and foreign policy mishaps like Afghanistan haunting their reputation, there's an overwhelming sense of chaos that voters are struggling to navigate. The absence of leadership. Where's the new Obama? Many are searching for a leader who can charm and persuade the American people to embrace these radical changes. Unfortunately, what we're left with are loud voices that lack substantive plans or vision. The rise of Trumpian transactional politics. On the flip side, President Trump offers a different approach, transactional politics. He's not about isolationism or relentless intervention. He's about results. His actions in targeting ISIS leaders and avoiding endless wars highlights a pragmatic stance that resonates with a significant portion of the electorate disillusioned with traditional political discourse. The global landscape. Let's take a moment to look beyond our borders. With Putin trapped in Ukraine and suffering immense losses, Trump's transactional mindset could lead to more substantial leverage in international relations than what we've seen under Biden's indecisive leadership. Here's a striking quote from Victor Davis Hanson. This isn't 2008. The left lost its hawk, lost its pragmatists, and now it's losing the country. The sentiment encapsulates the growing frustration among moderates who feel abandoned by a party that once championed their voices. Did you know that during Obama's last days in office, he executed unilaterally without congressional consultation? This set a precedent that questions democratic norms within our foreign policy decisions. Picture this, a factory worker named Lula declaring war against none other than Donald Trump. Sounds like the setup for a political thriller, right? Well, buckle up because we're diving into the implications of this declaration, the economic realities of Brazil and America, and why it matters in our current political climate. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's set the stage. In recent weeks, there have been whispers of Lula, yes, the factory worker turned politician, making bold statements against Trump. But hold on, let's clarify something here. Lula may be the president of Brazil, but he's nothing more than a factory worker out of his league. And speaking of beginnings, let's talk about our economies. As of now, America boasts an inflation rate of 2.3%, while Brazil is sitting at 5.35%. That's right, despite the economic hurdles each country faces, there seems to be a strange fascination with comparing these two leaders in what feels like a bizarre economic measuring contest. So here's where it gets interesting. If you're going to engage in a battle of wits, or should I say a dick measuring contest, you might want to ensure your economy is in decent shape first. I mean, it's essential to remember that an economy reflects the well-being of its citizens. Now, let's break down these inflation rates. A lower inflation rate typically indicates a more stable economy, right? With America at 2.3%, many would argue it's doing pretty well compared to Brazil's 5.35%. But here's the kicker. What happens when you elect someone with questionable economic policies? This brings us to the topic of communism and its impact on governance. Historically, countries that have leaned towards communist policies have often struggled economically. And it raises the question, should we ever elect a leader who has openly embraced such ideologies? Here's a quote by Margaret Thatcher that rings particularly true today, especially in Brazil. The problem with socialism is that eventually you run out of other people's money. It perfectly encapsulates the risks associated with poorly managed economies, like Brazil. Also, did you know that Brazil has been fighting its own battles with corruption and economic instability for decades? The political landscape is incredibly complex and often tumultuous, making Lula's declarations even more fascinating yet contentious. Just more evidence. Communists are generally economically retarded. Ask Cuba. Now, I know what you're thinking. Welfare and work requirements. Not the most exciting combination, right? But here's the twist. Watching the left grapple with these requirements has become a case study in political theater. It's as if everyone has lost their mind trying to react to a basic economic principle. Work must lead to pay. Let's unpack this and see what's really going on. Under Trump, the federal government has re-implemented work requirements as a condition for receiving welfare. Little known fact, Bill Clinton was the last president to do this, and Barack Obama ended it. These policies are aimed at encouraging self-sufficiency and reducing dependency on government assistance. But here's where things get tricky. The response from some left-leaning individuals has often been one of outrage. Let's start with the reality that many people face. The notion that individuals receiving welfare should contribute to their community through work is not only understandable but necessary. Benefits should serve as a safety net, yes, but we know that long-term reliance can create a cycle that's hard to escape. Check out Twitter sometime. Now, I've seen some colorful reactions on platforms like Twitter and Facebook. Some folks seem to think that adding work requirements is akin to denying people food or shelter. Phrases like an attack on the poor pop up frequently, but is confronting dependency really an attack, or is it a call for empowerment? What fascinates me most is how this issue has transformed into a political spectacle. Politicians misuse emotional narratives to garner support, but fall short of discussing the complexities of poverty and economic mobility. It's almost like they enjoy the frenzy over genuinely addressing how to best help those in need. As economist Thomas Sowell once said, "The real tragedy of the poor is the poverty of their ambitions." This quote encapsulates the heart of the work requirement discussion. It's not about punishing anyone, it's about fostering a mindset that encourages upward mobility. Did you know that according to a study from the National Bureau of Economic Research, states that implemented work requirements saw an increase in employment among those previously reliant on assistance? These aren't just numbers, they represent real people taking steps towards independence. Now, I want to set the stage for y'all. It started on Facebook, a platform notorious for its heated debates and sometimes hilariously misguided arguments. Picture this. I stumble upon a post from one of those individuals with a self-proclaimed revolutionary spirit, an Antifa type, if you will. This person had a penchant for calling for the overthrow of conservatives, all while seemingly enjoying a cozy life of, well, let's just say comfort and not the outdoor kind. So, naturally, being myself, I couldn't resist joining the fray. I sent over a meme poking fun at what I'd consider the archetypal loony leftist, you know the type. Overweight, pale, lack of sunlight. Also, as skinny as a rail with a face that looks like a nail gun exploded. Classic internet humor. Here's where things take an unexpected turn. This individual, let's call him Sling Blade, decides to dive deeper into the rabbit hole. He not only engages with my post, but then he goes into my profile, finds a picture of me in a gi with my black belt, and simply comments, bro. Now, if you've ever been in a heated discussion online, you know that a statement like that is a classic case of trying to undermine credibility with just one word. So I type back asking if he's never actually seen a black belt in practical terms, because let's be honest, it takes years of hard work to earn one. But what does Sling Blade do next? Instead of taking a moment for self-reflection, or even just a playful comeback, he responds with a line that made me chuckle. A bullet is a lot faster. I mean, really? How do we get from martial arts mastery to potential gun violence in mere moments? Feeling a mix of amusement and disbelief, I decided to up my game. I shared a link to my book on tactical training with firearms and added a little cherry on top. No shit, dumbass. And you'd think that might provoke a dialogue. Silence. Crickets. Sling Blade vanished into the digital ether, undoubtedly contemplating whether his original argument warranted a second thought. But isn't that irony? While he's out here talking about revolution, what are we really revolting against? The price of Hot Pockets going up, so his mom is rationing them now? This brings me to a fascinating nugget of wisdom from the martial arts world. A black belt is a white belt who never gave up. It's a reminder that true strength lies not just in physical prowess, but in mental resilience and self-awareness. Isn't it ironic that those calling for revolution often sit behind digital screens, perhaps without understanding the actual principle of discipline and perseverance required to fight for something? Maybe we should all take a page from that discipline before we start dabbling in revolutionary talk. I haven't done anything martial arts related lately, so I sent some information into Deep Dive, and they're going to break it down for you.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to Deep Dive.
You know, it's truly fascinating how some individuals seem to just defy easy categorization. Their lives aren't neat, single-lane roads. They're more like these sprawling, vibrant tapestries, intricately woven from an astonishing array of experiences, skills, even unexpected detours.
Absolutely.
Today, we're not just observing such a life. We're really embarking on an immersive journey into the fascinating landscape of precisely such an individual.
Yeah, we're diving deep.
Our subject for this deep dive is Shawn Armstrong, a figure whose life story, when you truly unpack it, reads less like a traditional biography and more like an epic adventure novel unfolding across decades.
That's a great way to put it.
I mean, he's been a formidable martial artist, a decorated military veteran, a prolific author, a captivating musician, and yes, even a meticulous paranormal investigator.
It's quite the list.
It's an extraordinary range of roles that, at first glance, might seem totally disparate, but as we'll discover, they're actually interconnected by some powerful underlying threads. Exactly. And to help us navigate this remarkable journey, we've pulled from two pivotal sources today. Our primary biographical account, which gives us that panoramic view of his varied career and his personal journey, comes from the multifaceted life of Shawn Armstrong.
Okay.
Then, to really understand the core philosophy behind one of his most significant contributions, we'll be drilling down into violence of action in Dragon Kenpo 2.0. That's a foundational text detailing the principles of the modern martial arts system he founded.
Got it. So, biography and philosophy.
Precisely. Our mission in this deep dive is to extract not just the facts, but the most potent nuggets of knowledge and insight from these sources. We want to understand not merely what Shawn Armstrong has accomplished, but why his journey stands out as so remarkable.
Right, the why behind it all.
Exactly. How did this incredible diversity of experiences, from the crucible of combat to the quiet discipline of writing, how did that profoundly shape his identity? And maybe most importantly, what can we as listeners learn from the distinct, maybe even provocative philosophy embedded within his Dragon Kenpo 2.0 system? So this deep dive is crafted to be your definitive shortcut to being genuinely well-informed, not just about his life, but about those deeper principles of adaptability and decisive action that it embodies.
I'm genuinely excited to unpack the layers of a life lived with such intensity and, well, undeniable purpose. As we journey through this material, I promise you're going to uncover some surprising connections, and I really believe some truly profound insights into what it means to live a life that is not just full, but deeply impactful and constantly evolving.
Sounds good.
So let's begin this deep dive. I want to say the kaleidoscope of a life, unpacking Shawn Armstrong's diverse chapters. Okay, let's unpack this incredible layered life, starting right at the very beginning. Shawn Armstrong was born August 27, 1968, in Ilion, New York.
Right.
Now, for many of us, childhood is about, putting down roots, establishing a sense of place. But for Shawn, his early years were marked by constant motion. The sources tell us his family moved frequently due to work, which meant he attended several different schools before really settling into one. That must have been tough.
Yeah, and this constant shifting, while challenging, definitely became an early crucible. I mean, imagine the psychological impact of perpetually being the new kid.
Always adapting.
Always adapting, having to reestablish connections, fit into new environments. This transient lifestyle, coupled with another significant challenge, he faced persistent bullying. It undeniably shaped his character from a very young age.
How so, do you think?
Well, it demanded a level of adaptability and self-reliance
Yeah.
that many only develop much later in life. But what's truly fascinating here is his immediate practical response to the bullying. He didn't just endure it, he decided to take action. He began training in judo with a family friend. This wasn't some passive reaction, it was a proactive step to empower himself. Okay, this is happening, what am I going to do about it?
That's telling. And it wasn't just those kinds of social or physical challenges that honed his resilience, was it? The sources also highlight that he learned the raw, unvarnished value of hard work really young.
Yeah, working alongside his father.
Exactly, toiling alongside his father in various farming jobs. And this isn't just a quaint biographical detail. It speaks to an early and deeply ingrained installation of practical discipline, the kind that teaches you the direct link between effort and outcome.
Right, no shortcuts.
No shortcuts. For anyone listening who has faced adversity early on, whether it's constant upheaval or direct confrontation, his story immediately becomes relatable, doesn't it? It shows how those formative, sometimes really tough experiences often lay the groundwork for later strengths and incredible adaptability.
Absolutely. It's a testament to how character is often forged in the fire of challenge.
It really is.
And those foundational lessons, whether learning self-defense in judo or the physical grind of farm labor, they clearly built a framework for discipline and a proactive mindset that would define so much of his future.
Yeah, you can see the threads starting early.
Definitely. And speaking of discipline and service on an even larger scale, a truly monumental chapter in Shawn Armstrong's life was his extensive military career.
Okay.
He served as a staff sergeant, or SSG, in the U.S. Army from September 3, 1987, all the way through September 3, 2010.
Wow, over 2 decades. That's a huge commitment.
It really is.
And during that time, he had a particularly critical role, didn't he? As an M1 tank crewman from 1993 to 2005.
Yes, for a significant chunk of that time.
Now, for listeners, an M1 tank crewman isn't just someone who drives a tank. This is a highly specialized, intensely demanding role. We're talking operating and maintaining the M1 Abrams tank, a complex piece of machinery.
A beast, really.
Often in high-stress combat scenarios, it requires exceptional technical proficiency, unwavering composure under pressure, and just seamless teamwork.
Yeah, the crew has to function as one unit.
Imagine the sheer responsibility. Leading squads, maneuvering this multi-ton combat vehicle, being accountable for crucial operations, and ultimately the lives of your crew and those around you. This isn't just following orders. It's about making split-second, high-stakes decisions with profound consequences.
You've hit on a crucial point there. His tenure in this role, and really his entire military career, required a profound commitment to service, a mastery of strategic thinking, and the development of decisive leadership skills.
Skills that last a lifetime.
Absolutely. These aren't just military traits. They're universal skills that transcend any single profession. They're applicable in any domain where clarity, swift judgment, and effective execution are paramount.
And his service was recognized, right? There were commendations.
Oh, definitely. And to underscore his dedication and the immense sacrifices he made, the sources highlight some truly significant awards. He received the Afghanistan Campaign Medal, the Army Commendation Medal, actually his third award of it,
Wow.
and the Combat Infantryman Badge. Now, the CIB is a rare and highly respected award given specifically to infantry soldiers who have directly engaged in ground combat.
So direct action.
Direct action against an armed enemy, yes. These accolades are more than just ribbons. They represent unwavering courage, exceptional effectiveness, and an enduring commitment in the most demanding situations imaginable.
It's abundantly clear that his military experience wasn't just a job. It was a profound crucible that forged and refined his character. It imbued him with this deep understanding of action and consequence.
No doubt.
And what's really interesting, as you mentioned, is how that military discipline and commitment to decisive action seemed to directly foreshadow later aspects of his life, particularly his approach to martial arts philosophy. We'll get more into that, I'm sure.
We will.
But his life isn't solely defined by rigid structure and combat. It also has this deeply creative and expressive side. It's almost like a necessary counterbalance, you know?
Indeed, that creative impulse is fascinating, particularly when you consider the structured, high-stakes world he inhabited for so long.
Right.
From 2009 to 2020, while living in Cortland, New York, Shawn explored his passion for writing, and he really delved into various forms of poetry, which likely captured personal reflections, novels, requiring that sustained narrative development, and even ventured into the dynamic world of web content creation. So it wasn't just a casual dabbling, it was a serious engagement with the craft of storytelling and communication.
And the sources are very pragmatic about the realities of this pursuit. They note that writers often juggle multiple roles due to unpredictable income.
And the starving artist trope isn't entirely mythical.
Right. And Shawn wasn't immune to this. He actively participated in workshops and events, not just to hone his craft and connect with other creatives, but also to supplement his earnings.
Which speaks volumes.
It really speaks to a very grounded and pragmatic approach to pursuing creative passions, understanding the economic realities while still dedicating himself wholeheartedly to the art. He knew how to hustle.
He definitely did. And in parallel with his writing, he also had a significant and sustained musical journey. From 1986 all the way to 2020. That's a long time.
Oh, another long-term commitment.
Yeah, he was a rhythm guitarist and vocalist. And the sources emphasize his musical journey wasn't just about playing notes or singing songs. It was fundamentally about creating an emotional connection through song.
That resonates. Music does that.
It really does. That's a profound aspect of music, its ability to evoke feelings, tell stories, connect people on a nonverbal level. And much like writers, musicians often perform as freelancers or collaborate with bands, which further underscores that spirit of independent endeavor, teamwork, and a constant drive to perform and connect with an audience.
It makes you really consider how the incredible discipline required for military service, or even the intense focus of martial arts, might translate directly into the sheer perseverance needed for creative endeavors. Writing a novel, practicing an instrument for decades, performing live, these things demand immense dedication over long periods, often without immediate gratification.
That's a great point. The delayed gratification aspect is huge.
It really demonstrates how embracing diverse interests isn't just a path to personal fulfillment. It can also be a practical strategy for sustainability and just a holistic approach to identity. He's truly integrated different facets of himself into a cohesive, evolving whole.
And that integration, as you noted, is such a recurring and powerful theme in his life. It's not compartmentalized.
Not at all.
Beyond the creative arts, Shawn Armstrong possesses a long and incredibly deep history in martial arts. He owned and instructed at the Dragon Kinpo Karate Academy from 1980 until its closure in 2009.
Okay, so that predates even his military service starting.
Yes, it runs deep. And there, he didn't just teach techniques. He taught self-defense techniques rooted in discipline and respect, instilling a moral code alongside physical prowess. This was clearly a lifelong passion, building on those early judo lessons and evolving into a serious commitment to an entire martial system.
But his physical and intellectual pursuits certainly don't stop there. In what seems like a surprising turn, he also had a dynamic career in professional wrestling.
Yeah, that one definitely catches your eye.
Trained by Horace White at East Coast Professional Wrestling, he captivated audiences under the memorable name, The Perfect Weapon.
Quite a name.
Right. The sources highlight not just his athleticism, which is undeniable in wrestling, but also his charisma. And they make a point of mentioning the rigorous training that goes into professional wrestling performances. That's a very different kind of physical discipline than traditional martial arts, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's a crucial distinction. While Kenpo is focused on practical, immediate self-defense and, rigid discipline in that sense, professional wrestling, despite its physical demands, is fundamentally about performance, storytelling, and connecting with a live audience in a theatrical, emotionally charged way.
Entertainment, but intensely physical.
Intensely physical, yeah.
Yeah.
Yet both require immense physical prowess, incredible stamina, and a deep well of mental toughness. It's about being able to perform under pressure, absorb impacts, and convey a narrative through action. It's just a different kind of narrative.
Okay.
And then, woven into this incredible tapestry of physically demanding pursuits, we also find a dedication to formal education and highly practical certifications.
Right, the intellectual side balancing the physical.
Exactly. He studied criminal justice at Tompkins Cortland Community College and took various emergency management courses through FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency.
FEMA courses. That ties into readiness, preparedness.
Very much so. And to top it off, he holds multiple certifications relevant to firearms instruction and executive protection.
Executive protection, like bodyguards.
Essentially, yes. High-level personal security. This really emphasizes how these skills, whether physical or intellectual, seem to consistently complement and enhance his diverse career paths.
It really does.
Yeah.
What really stands out to me as we look at these seemingly disparate physical and intellectual pursuits, I mean, M1 tank crewman to pro wrestler, disciplined martial arts instructor, someone trained in emergency management and executive protection, is how they all demonstrate this consistent thread of readiness, protection, and continuous skill development.
Preparedness.
Yeah, preparedness. It's all about being prepared, capable, and effective in a wide array of challenging and potentially high-stakes scenarios.
It truly is a testament to a life lived with profound intentionality about acquiring useful and impactful skills.
Oh.
And then there's another fascinating chapter that speaks to a different kind of curiosity.
Oh.
One that ventures beyond the purely physical or intellectual into the realm of the unexplained. His venture into the unseen.
Okay.
Between 2012 and 2014, Shawn dabbled as a paranormal investigator, working with scientific paranormal investigations.
Wait, ghost hunting? That feels like quite a leap from tanks and Kenpo.
It might seem like a leap at first glance, right? A complete departure from the pragmatic, tangible skills we've been discussing.
Yeah.
But consider the underlying methodology. The sources describe him using various tools like EMF meters and audio recorders to explore the unknown realms of paranormal activity.
Okay, so tools and data.
Exactly. This isn't about blind belief or sensationalism, at least not according to the source. It's about a methodical, almost scientific approach to investigating something unconventional and often misunderstood. It highlights a deeply ingrained facet of his personality, a profound intellectual curiosity, an openness to exploring non-traditional domains, and a consistent drive to gather data and draw conclusions, even when dealing with phenomena outside conventional understanding.
So, applying the same investigative rigor.
In essence, yeah. He applied the systematic inquiry of a soldier conducting reconnaissance or a martial artist analyzing a situation to a new, mysterious field. It truly showcases another dimension of his multifaceted nature, a persistent intellectual curiosity that transcends the mundane.
That's a great point, actually. The methodical approach of a soldier or a martial artist could certainly translate to investigating the unknown, even if the subject matter is wildly different. It speaks volumes about a mind that's always seeking to understand, to explore, and gather information, no matter the field or how unconventional it might seem.
Keeps things interesting.
Definitely. And to round out this incredible biographical sketch, it's clear his journey continues to evolve, embracing new horizons even now.
Yes, his spirit of exploration and adaptability didn't just stop. In 2019, Shawn R. Armstrong made a significant personal move, relocating to Brazil.
Brazil, wow.
The sources state he went seeking new adventures, which perfectly encapsulates his continuous pursuit of growth and new experiences. And there, he married Sandriana da Silva on July 15, 2021.
That's wonderful.
This detail really brings his biographical sketch full circle, showing a life that continues to embrace new chapters, new challenges, and profound personal growth. It's a testament to someone who refuses to be static, always moving forward.
It's powerful, isn't it? His entire story illustrates the idea that life's journey can continually open new doors, redefine personal identity, bring unexpected fulfillment. It's not about settling into one fixed role or persona,
Right.
but about continuously evolving, embracing where life takes you, and actively choosing where you want to take yourself.
Well said.
And with that comprehensive overview of his diverse experiences, we're now ready to move from the sheer breadth of his life to a deep dive into one of his most significant and impactful contributions.
Oh.
The powerful philosophy behind his Dragon Kenpo 2.0 system. 2, the philosophy of action, unpacking Dragon Kenpo 2.0, and violence of action.
Okay.
So after exploring all those diverse and often high-octane chapters of his life, it's particularly fascinating to see Shawn R. Armstrong circle back to martial arts in 2018 with the founding of Dragon Kenpo 2.0.
Mm-hmm. Comes full circle in a way.
But this wasn't just a revival of his old academy or a rehashing of classic Kenpo, was it? This seems like something fundamentally new, born from decades of varied experience.
Absolutely not a mere revival. The sources clearly state that this was a new system, meticulously created after analyzing modern threats faced by martial artists today.
Modern threats. What does that entail, exactly?
Well, think about it. Traditional martial arts were often developed for different societal contexts, right? Sometimes for formal duels, sometimes for philosophical self-mastery. But modern threats, street violence, multiple attackers, the prevalence of weapons, even the legal implications of self-defense.
Yeah, things are different now.
Things are different. They require a different strategic response. And his own military background, where adapting to evolving threats is absolutely paramount, and his practical self-defense focus from his earlier Kenpo Academy. You can see how they're synthesized here. It's an evolution born directly from the crucible of lived experience, designed to be, frankly, brutally effective in today's unpredictable world.
And at the absolute heart of this new system is a principle that really grabs your attention. It almost demands it. Violence of action.
The strong phrase.
It really is. It's described as the need for decisive and aggressive responses in self-defense situations. That sounds incredibly intense, maybe even controversial to some, but I imagine it's rooted in a very pragmatic reality.
It is intense, but for a very practical and survival-driven reason. The sources emphasize that violence of action highlights a simple truth. Hesitation can be dangerous.
Okay.
In a genuine self-defense scenario, a moment of doubt, a pause to overthink, can literally be the difference between safety and severe harm, or worse.
That split second matters.
It matters hugely. Imagine a sudden, unprovoked attack. If you hesitate for even a second to assess, to consider options, that's a second the attacker has to gain control.
Yeah.
Practitioners of Dragon Kenpo 2.0 aren't just taught techniques, they're rigorously trained to take immediate, overwhelming action.
Overwhelming action.
Yes, making quick, decisive movements to neutralize threats effectively and instantly. This isn't about being needlessly aggressive in daily life, let's be clear.
Right, it's context specific.
Exactly. It's about being surgically effective and supremely decisive when facing imminent danger, prioritizing survival above all else.
And the practical application of this principle sounds incredibly direct and efficient. The sources detail it. Targeting vulnerable areas, using joint locks, and executing powerful strikes are all part of this proactive approach.
No wasted movement.
It sounds like it prioritizes efficiency and ending a threat quickly without unnecessary flourishes or, prolonged engagement.
Exactly. The goal is to overwhelm the threat immediately and decisively, minimizing the time the conflict can escalate or cause further harm. But what's truly fascinating here, and often misunderstood about this concept, is that violence of action extends beyond physical moves. It encompasses mental readiness as well.
Ah, the mental game.
The mental game is absolutely crucial, perhaps even more so than the physical techniques themselves. Practitioners don't just learn what to do, they learn to engage their minds and bodies simultaneously, channeling their energy into swift techniques designed to incapacitate an opponent quickly.
Mind and body as one weapon.
Precisely. It points to a holistic approach, where the mental state, the unwavering will to act decisively and without hesitation, is as crucial as physical technique. It's not just about knowing what to do, but having the mental fortitude to do it instinctively and powerfully, especially under extreme duress.
That mental readiness aspect is something we've seen subtly woven through his other experiences too, isn't it?
It really is.
The high-stakes, split-second decision-making required in military service, where lives are on the line, or even the quick thinking and improvisation needed in professional wrestling,
Yeah.
seem like they would be perfect training grounds for cultivating this kind of integrated mental and physical readiness. It's almost like all his past experiences culminate and find their most concentrated expression in this philosophy.
That's a very astute and powerful connection to make.
Mm.
The ability to make incredibly rapid, effective decisions under duress, what we often call stress inoculation,
Right.
is a hallmark of his diverse background. It's a skill that's transferable from a battlefield to a wrestling ring, and then distilled into a self-defense system.
Fascinating.
And while violence of action sounds very modern and immediate, the sources do trace its roots back through martial arts history. Many traditions, they note, have emphasized quick resolutions to conflict, understanding intuitively that speed, surprise, and overwhelming force often determine the outcome of a confrontation.
Can you give examples?
Sure, think of systems like Wing Chun, which prioritizes direct, simultaneous offense and defense, or certain Krav Maga principles. Both of those, in their own way, embody an immediate, aggressive response philosophy.
So Dragon Kempo 2.0 isn't just inventing something out of thin air, it's adapting these age-old principles for a contemporary context.
Exactly, building on tradition but refining it.
But how does it differentiate itself from other martial arts that also focus on self-defense? What makes its approach unique for these modern realities you mentioned?
It does so by actively acknowledging modern realities and ruthlessly prioritizing simplicity and immediate effectiveness. Unlike some martial arts that might focus on complex, maybe aesthetically pleasing maneuvers, or those designed for lengthy rule-bound engagements like sport combat.
Right, like tournament fighting.
Exactly. Dragon Kempo 2.0 explicitly prioritizes simplicity and effectiveness. This pragmatic approach is designed to ensure that students can execute techniques under pressure without overthinking their movements.
Because under pressure, complex goes out the window.
It often does. In a real-world self-defense situation where adrenaline surges and fine motor skills degrade significantly, complex multi-step techniques can be a dangerous liability. The focus here is on instinctive, powerful, and overwhelming responses that can be deployed by almost anyone, regardless of their athletic background, under extreme duress.
That makes sense.
And this profound balance between time-tested tradition and practical innovation absolutely reflects Shawn Armstrong's own multifaceted journey, taking foundational principles and evolving them with unflinching realism for contemporary needs.
Okay, so the philosophy is clear, but how is this actually instilled in the students? It sounds like it requires more than just learning a series of moves from a book or a video. It seems to require a fundamental shift in mindset.
It absolutely does, and this is where the training environment becomes paramount. The sources state that the training environment plays a vital role in instilling the philosophy of violence of action.
How so? What does that look like?
Well, they describe rigorous, practical training methods, things like sparring sessions and simulated scenarios that create high-stress situations where quick reflexes are essential.
Ah, stress inoculation again.
Exactly. These aren't choreographed drills where you know what's coming. They're designed to replicate the chaos and pressure of a real attack as closely as possible. This is precisely where students learn not just how to perform techniques, but critically, when and how to apply them with maximum impact and without hesitation under realistic pressure.
So it's about building that muscle memory, yes, but crucially, it's about building the mental fortitude to act without hesitation, even when your instincts might be telling you to freeze or flee.
Precisely. Drills encourage an aggressive mindset as a necessary part of effective self-defense. And it's vital to distinguish this again. It's not about promoting aggression in daily life,
Right.
but recognizing its absolute necessity and efficacy in a genuine life-threatening scenario. This rigorous approach fosters profound confidence in students as they face both physical opponents and psychological challenges.
I can see how that would build confidence.
Definitely. For anyone listening who's interested in personal development, this training methodology offers incredibly profound insights into building resilience and decisive action under pressure, extending far beyond physical combat. It's about training your mind to identify a threat, choose to act, and then execute that action with unwavering intent when it matters most. And that, fundamentally, is a universal skill for navigating life's challenges, isn't it? 3. connecting the threads. Shawn Armstrong's legacy and broader implications.
It really is. It's truly fascinating now to step back and reflect on how Shawn R. Armstrong's life, with all these seemingly disparate skills, military strategy, creative writing, martial arts, even paranormal investigation, they don't just exist in isolation. They really seem to reinforce and elevate each other in some unexpected ways.
They weave together.
What stands out to you as the most significant, maybe even surprising connections here when you look at the whole picture?
Well, what's profoundly fascinating is how that core discipline ingrained through military service clearly informs the meticulous focus of a martial artist. Consider the dedication required to train for decades in a martial art, right? To practice those repetitions, push past physical and mental limits.
Yeah, endless practice.
That same capacity for sustained, focused effort is undeniably honed in military training. Or think about the perseverance required of an author facing writer's block, revisions, rejection. That mental fortitude is a direct echo of overcoming challenges in a combat zone or just sticking with a long mission.
That resilience transfers.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
And then there's the theatricality of professional wrestling. While it's a performance, it undoubtedly contributes to a charismatic presence, an ability to connect with and command an audience. That would be invaluable for teaching complex self-defense techniques in a dojo or engaging a crowd in any public speaking event.
Holding attention.
Holding attention, building rapport. And his certifications in firearms and executive protection are further powerful examples of skills that seamlessly bridge multiple worlds: personal defense, professional security, enhancing almost every aspect of his capabilities.
And that investigative mind we touched on with the paranormal work, that seems to apply across all these fields too, doesn't it?
How do you mean?
Well, analyzing potential threats in combat, researching meticulously for a novel, even understanding audience reaction in music or wrestling, it all requires a certain observational skill, a critical analytical approach, and a willingness to gather information before acting decisively.
That's a great observation. It's not just about having the skills, it's about the cognitive framework that allows him to apply them across such varied contexts. The approach seems consistent.
Exactly.
Which raises an important question. How does a multifaceted individual like Shawn R. Armstrong acquire such a unique ability to cross-pollinate ideas and skills from one domain to another?
Yeah, how does that happen?
His life story strongly suggests that the underlying universal traits, discipline, adaptability, curiosity, decisiveness, perseverance, the capacity for focused action, are cultivated deeply in one area, perhaps the military or early martial arts, and then become readily transferable assets across seemingly unrelated fields. It's about recognizing patterns, extracting universal lessons, and then consciously applying them, regardless of the specific context. He doesn't just learn a skill, he learns how to learn and how to apply.
Learning how to learn, that's key.
It really is.
And this brings us right back full circle to the core philosophy of Dragon Kenpo 2.0, violence of action. We've explored its critical role in self-defense, prioritizing immediate, decisive action. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, beyond the dojo or a combat zone, what does this all mean for someone listening who isn't training in martial arts?
Right.
How can this core tenet of immediate and forceful action be applied to everyday life challenges, helping us become more effective individuals?
It's an excellent question, and the implications are truly profound, I think. Violence of action, when you strip away the literal combat context, can be understood as a philosophy of decisive readiness and proactive resilience in any aspect of life.
Okay, decisive readiness. I like that.
In our daily lives, this translates directly to overcoming procrastination, making difficult decisions without unnecessary delay, seizing opportunities rather than letting them pass by because of indecision or fear.
We've all been there.
We absolutely have. Imagine a crucial career decision, a challenging conversation you're avoiding, a personal goal you keep putting off. Adopting a violence of action mindset means cultivating an inner state where, when faced with a challenge, you adopt a proactive, focused approach rather than hesitating, overthinking, or letting inertia take hold.
So breaking that inertia.
Exactly. It's about moving forward with purpose and intent. Cultivating that inner trust that says, okay, I recognize the need to act, I will act, and I will act effectively. This mindset builds tremendous confidence in navigating complex situations, whether it's a high-stakes business meeting, a personal crisis, or simply tackling that daunting to-do list.
That makes so much sense. It's about harnessing that mental trigger, that decision point. So for you, listening right now, How can adopting a mindset of violence of action, really defined as that decisive readiness and purposeful resilience, empower you in your own life? It's about recognizing those moments of hesitation and instead choosing to move forward with conviction.
Exactly. And this brings us back to the overarching conclusion articulated in his biographical source. Shawn R. Armstrong's journey illustrates how truly diverse experiences can profoundly shape an individual's identity while simultaneously contributing positively to society at large.
Hmm.
His identity isn't static, it's dynamically shaped, constantly evolving through the myriad roles, the challenges, the passions he's pursued. His life story serves as a living testament to continuous learning and the powerful application of knowledge gleaned from disparate fields.
His life truly is a narrative of purpose and continuous evolution, isn't it? The sources emphasize how he continues inspiring those around him with each unfolding chapter of his life story, whether through crafting captivating stories that resonate with readers or diligently teaching self-defense techniques rooted in timeless tradition yet rigorously adapted for modern challenges. It's a powerful, ongoing narrative of a life lived with profound purpose, consistently embracing new horizons and inspiring others to do the same.
It truly is a remarkable journey. It showcases that identity isn't some fixed point we arrive at, but a dynamic process of becoming, shaped by every choice, every challenge overcome, and every new skill embraced and integrated into the whole.
What an incredible deep dive this has been into the multifaceted life of Shawn R. Armstrong. We've journeyed through his experiences as a decorated soldier, a disciplined martial artist, a creative author and musician, even a curious paranormal investigator.
Quite the ride.
And through his Dragon Kenpo 2.0 system, we've unpacked the impactful and highly pragmatic philosophy of violence of action, a principle that prioritizes decisive, immediate action, not just in self-defense, but maybe as a framework for life itself.
This deep dive has shown us in vivid detail how unwavering dedication, remarkable adaptability, and a consistently proactive mindset can lead to profound contributions and personal mastery across vastly different fields. It's not just about the sheer breadth of his achievement, but the underlying drive and the cohesive philosophy that connects them all into such a powerful narrative.
Absolutely.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, Shawn R. Armstrong's extraordinary journey and the philosophy of violence of action really compel us to ask ourselves a profound question, don't they?
What's that?
In what areas of your life are you perhaps hesitating, waiting for the perfect moment, when a decisive, purposeful action could be the very key to unlocking mastery and unforeseen growth?
That's such a powerful, resonant thought to end on. I invite you, listening, to truly consider that. How might embracing violence of action, not just in conflict, but in every aspect of striving, learning, and personal growth, unlock entirely new potentials for your own unique, multifaceted journey?
Food for thought.
Definitely. Thank you for joining us on the deep dive. We'll catch you next time.
As we wrap up today's discussion, it's clear that redistricting isn't just about drawing lines on a map. It's about creating communities of support and ensuring representation reflects the diverse voices within Texas. The stakes are high, and as they say, it's not just about creating districts, it's about creating communities. Before we sign off, I want to hear from you. What do you think about these proposed changes in Texas? Is it a strategic move or a desperate gamble? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for tuning in to Thinking Out Loud with Shawn Armstrong. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe and share with your friends. Until next time, keep questioning and keep thinking out loud.